Welcome to today's meditation time. I would invite you just to get comfortable where you are. Allow your seat to ground down, or if you're lying down, allow the spine, the shoulders, the tailbone to just really sink into where you are. And as the body comes to this comfortable, grounded position, I would invite you to gently close your eyes and let the grounding where you are, from the seated position, from lying down, from maybe even standing, begin to just help you feel the rooting, the steadfastness, the solidity of where you are. And as you feel that grounding, allow the breath to begin to fill you up. The grounding keeps us steady, and the breath helps us find vibrancy. And so just find a rhythm of breath that feels right for you, that brings that vibrancy in and then allows you to release anything that might get in the way of it. And allow yourself to come into this present moment. One breath, one bit of grounding at a time. And as we've each settled into our space physically, emotionally, energetically, mentally, I want to continue on this journey through the Yoga Sutras. The Yoga Sutras, this word sutra, is this thread, this teaching, this lesson that even though it was written thousands of years ago, has such tangible relevance for us today. I love to think about the sutras as these threads that have just woven through time, connecting humanity across generations, across continents. Understanding that the struggles of people thousands of years ago are the very same struggles of us today. These teachings are still real and alive. They cross cultures, they cross religions, and they bind together this human existence of ours. And so the sutra for today is Yoga Sutra 114. And while I'm not going to attempt to read the entire thing in Sanskrit, there's 3 words that I want to hang on to that I think really inform this thing we show up to do at meditation time. In Sanskrit, it says Dirga, Kala, Nirantaraya. Dirga, Kala, Nirantaraya. And if you translate it, it means for a long time, uninterrupted. And when Patanjali wrote these words, he was referring to our practice. Now, the practice could be many different things. It could be the practice of our breath. It could be the practice of showing compassion for mankind. It could be the practice of showing up to meditation. The practice of our physical asana on a mat. The practice of being still and focused and with ourselves. There's so many ways to describe what this practice is, but the 3 words he used over and over again say Dirga, Kala, Nirantaraya, for a long time uninterrupted. And there's this story that goes along with this one that says that Patanjali was asked by many people, so how long do I have to do this before I can feel the peace? And he would say, for a long time, uninterrupted. Right, but how many days do I need to continue it before I feel the benefits and the impact? And he would say, for a long time, uninterrupted. We don't really have a way to quantify that, and I know that our logical minds like to have a beginning and an end point. It gives us comfort to know that if I just do something X number of times, I'll see the result that I'm looking for. But we also know that we as humanity, our stamina sometimes is not so great. We give up sometimes really easily. And oftentimes, even I have had students say to me, I've been meditating for a week and it's not getting any easier. And I would say to them, in the words of Patanjali, you got to keep doing it for a long time. uninterrupted. And so today, as we sit together, whether that's here in person live or you're listening to this later on, I want you just to know this moment here in meditation is part of your long interrupted time. It's not a matter of reflecting back on how many days you did it before, or how many days you missed before, or even measuring it by the minutes or by the hours. What he says basically is this is a lifetime of a practice. And maybe that uninterruption means it is a daily part of our lives. But maybe that uninterruption also means that when we get here and we show up on this cushion or on this spot where we are, we don't let the world come and interrupt our time. And we sit and we are and we breathe for a long time uninterrupted. And then we show up the next time for a long time uninterrupted. And then all of a sudden, a bit of suffering comes across our path. Some trauma crosses into our family. A crisis arises. And in those moments, we have two choices. We let those things derail our practice, or we let those things inform our practice even more. Because we don't just show up when things are good, and we don't just show up when we're in crisis. But I think what he was teaching us is as long as there is breath in us, we show up. We show up for ourselves. Not because we're trying to meet a standard or see a result. We show up because we believe in the investment of us. We believe in the cultivation of our peace and our well-being. And we show up because we know that the next trauma, the next crisis is just around the corner. And when those things come, we want to be able to keep showing up uninterrupted. And so I want to just pause here. Each of us in our own space, our own reflection. And as we are sitting or just being in our own space, I would encourage each of us to affirm ourselves for showing up now. It's not a matter of really of being proud. It's just affirming, seeing the value in what you've done in this moment. And then I would also invite you to reflect back on all the days, all the moments. It doesn't have to be in order or in a row or in this consecutive way, but just reflect and think. I have really come a long way. I've really introduced new patterns into my life that didn't exist before. I've begun to show up for a long time, uninterrupted. So just pause. As I reflect, you reflect on where this practice has come from for you. And then I would invite each of us to take that reflection internally. Take it into the spot wherever you imagine that the emotional parts of you sit. Because if there is one barometer that really reflects what this practice has done in our lives, it's in the emotional parts of our being. And as you see it, I don't know how you imagine it, but I kind of see all these colors just floating around that represent all these emotions, all these energies that I have. And I know that there have been times in life where the anger and the frustration seem to be a bigger, brighter color than the peace and the calm and the patience. There were also times when I know that the energy, the color of my sorrow seem to overwhelm all the other colors. I could go on and on just naming all these emotions that we feel, but they're all there. And I like to think that our meditation practice, our long time uninterrupted practice, helps us to first identify these emotions within us. Second, to value all of them. To value the fact that we do feel sorrow. And there are things that prick our spirit and anger us. And there's also joy. And there's love. And there's peace and calm and ease within our emotions as well. And so our meditation practice doesn't ask us to stop feeling, but rather it keeps us so intimately connected to our emotions because we know ourselves so well. Because we show up for a long time uninterrupted. And then from all of that, what we find out and what we begin to see is those emotions begin to stay really balanced. We still feel them all. We still love hard and hang on to joy and get a little bit mad. But we learn how to find balance within them. And I believe that is one of the most beautiful effects of us showing up a long time uninterrupted. So I would invite us each just to sit with the emotional parts of us. We all have the pieces that we've struggled with over time. But just notice, what do those colors look like within you? Do you see more balance now than you used to? Do you feel more connected to who you are as an emotional being than you did before? And do you find your breath allowing you to soften and regulate those emotions in a way that feels healthy and good? So let's just sit with the emotional parts of us for this amount of long time and uninterrupted thoughts. Just you, nothing else. Together, let's take a nice, slow, deep breath in. And then gently let it go. One more slow breath in. And gently let it go. Dirga Kala Nirantarya. For a long time, uninterrupted. That is how our practice becomes firmly grounded. When we learn to attend to it with all earnestness. That's the full translation of this Yoga Sutra. And so when he's asked, how long does it take before we feel it, before we realize the effects of it? He answers, Dirga Kala Nirantarya. for a long time, uninterrupted. And it starts today. Namaste.